Hi guys, so basically, sorry, I basically am gonna talk about how to make your art better and make your life your art, and how to make your life more artistic and creative and fun and more joyful. And I think all of them kind of tie in together, and I feel like this isn't even for people who are artists necessarily, but people who just want to be more intentional and want to be more creative and fun and to channel themselves through everything that they do. Because I have things that I do every day that that I do for myself, but also for my art, because I know if I do those things, it will reflect on what I create for that day. Yeah, and it will affect my relationships, and it will affect the way I talk to people and the way I communicate with the world and the way I see the world. But we're also obsessed with work, and work is the only productivity that we have, so that's why I'm kind of more revolving it around kind of that, because it feels kind of sometimes like not productive to take care of yourself, because you're not contributing to the economy, I guess. But it is like the most productive thing that you can do. But basically, I started doing art when I was 17, I think. It was during lockdown. My boyfriend at the time was like, why don't you paint? Because I wanted to start painting. I was always creative, but I never expressed myself for some reason, because I was too afraid, and I felt like it wasn't my thing or something. And I don't know, I think I was just too afraid. And I pushed myself away a lot when I was younger. And I didn't know, and it's also like before art, I didn't know how to channel all these feelings that I have. I feel like sensitive people are usually very naturally creative, because we don't know where to put all of our feelings. And I feel like even I was saying earlier that I don't really enjoy journaling, and because it's not the type of expression that I like, or the medium that I like to express myself in. I like to express myself in more poetic ways, or painting, or and that can be ugly as well. It's not necessarily pretty. I made this painting, for example, I've been really trying to make ugly art, because I think that first of all, actually I'm going to say this first. First of all, you have to ask yourself why you want to make art, or why you want to be an artist. And I feel like your intentions should be, of course, pure. It shouldn't really be for a reason to get money or fame or anything, or to be a certain type of person. I feel like those come after, and those are bonuses. But why, to make your art as beautiful as it is, your intention should be to enjoy it and to express yourself, and for it to be truly beautiful and truly and to be a true reflection of yourself and of your soul. Your intentions should be pure. I just got charcoal on myself. And also having your intentions in your art, and why you want to be an artist, that can become your mantra in every time that you feel bad about yourself. Because I think this is in every kind of this follows everywhere in anyone's occupation or career or whatever, but especially I feel like in art it can be quite competitive, and it can easily turn egotistical, and which I hate that side. And sometimes I hate even performing on stage, because I feel like I just feel gross, everyone watching me, I just it makes me feel gross, because I feel like sometimes it only boosts my ego rather than I can actually truly express myself and be true, and just show up as I am. I feel like I have to kind of perform, and I don't like to perform through my art. So it's this weird paradox. But every time, to bring myself back to that truth and bring myself out of my ego, I repeat mantras I'm doing this to inspire, I'm doing this to express myself, I'm channeling my truth, God channels through me, my higher self channels through me, everything I do is blessed. Just like getting your intentions out and like doing stuff, saying stuff like that really helps, because then you don't feel bad about yourself if you make something bad, or feel like you're only an artist if you make something that looks like this, or like, you know. And what you create you will attract as well, and what you show and display you will attract, and you want to attract people who are just like your soul and who are the truest versions of yourself, so you can fully be free and fully enjoy yourself. And a good practice to that is making bad art, which is what I do every time I feel like stuck, which is a really nightmare. It's a nightmare energy to get into, but I think I just keep making bad art up until I make something that I like. And it's also hard being an artist, because you have to think, because it's your job as well as your hobby. It's like, it's not nice to think, you know, what I'm making is a product that I can sell, so it has to be good and it has to be like digestible, I guess. It doesn't, because then you can't be fully free in your art, and that's what I've learned. I think that's the past few months I've really that's really resonated with me. Has been my intentions is to be more free within my art, and not thinking about what other people want me to make, or making things into a product. Because as soon as I dropped out of school back when I was younger, I started making art and I started selling it, and that was the only form of income I had. So I was kind of making what other people wanted me to make just so I could make money, and that's okay too, but like I don't enjoy that. Like I was like, because I remember I used to do commissions and stuff, and I always hated commissions, and it was really weird because every time someone would ask me to do something, I would do a terrible job, and I always hated, like, every single commission, like I've done most of them, I hate what I make. But it's because someone's telling me what to make, and I'm trying to make something that someone else wants instead of what I want. So it's not going to come out right, and it's just not going to feel right. Because I can only be like even technically good at art when I fully feel like I fully embrace the process, and I fully show up for myself, and I'm fully true, and like it like just happens by accident. Like the best art that you'll make happens by accident. You're chasing energy rather than something that is like stable and like physical. Do you know what I mean? But anyways, I made this recently because I was trying to make something kind of ugly, but I actually quite like it. But because I was kind of stuck, and it's called, what did I call it? When I was a little girl, because I realized it's like also so fun. I just love art so much, especially it's just really fun because you make something and you don't know what it's about, and then you just literally, you don't think about what you're doing, you just do. And that's why art is so spiritual, and that's why art is so close to God, and it's so emotional, and it's so deep, because when you're creating art, you're closest to God and you're channeling God. But you're channeling God, and you're just expressing yourself, and you're digging into these parts of yourselves and just expressing it. And that's not something that you think of and go, I'm gonna make. So a lot of like artist concepts too, but it's not about the concept. It's like, I'm just gonna like do what, like, you're not thinking about like where each color is gonna go, like, and some people obviously do, like obviously sometimes you do, but like for the most part you're just kind of going with whatever, and you're just being rather than thinking about being. You're just being. Do you know what I mean? You're not thinking about painting, you're just painting. Do you know what I mean? That's what I was trying to say. But I did this with paint and charcoal. I love charcoal recently, but yeah, I did this painting right, and I didn't realize that I was like kind of channeling my inner child. Obviously I was, because look at all the colour. But isn't that like so great that like you can just make something and then you're like, oh, that was like my little inner child, and it's like really nice. Or it's like, oh, that was this part of myself, or like, oh, I was trying to say this and this, or I was trying to communicate. And that's why it's so great, because other people, when they see your art, they can make up whatever they want too. Do you know? So this reminds me so much of my childhood, like these two colours, and like this reminds me of, like, just that colour palette just really reminds me of my childhood, because I think we had tiles that were like this, or a painting or something that was quite like these colours. I don't know why, but it reminds me of my childhood. And if you were my childhood, you'd understand. Isn't that so true? But isn't that so good? Anyway, and then I just drew a little house, like like, it's just so my, like, inner little girl, like, just drawing that, like, painting that, and I just love it. But yeah, and yeah, for example, there's this painting. It's my favorite painting. It's called To the River by I think it's called To the River by Willem de Kooning. I'll show you. Oh, it's called Door to the River by Willem de Kooning. And that's it. That's it. It's my favorite because, and it just reminds me of, like, this very specific depressed kind of, but also hopeful feeling, of, like, the comfort of nothingness, but also the fear of nothingness. That's, like, what it reminds me of. And but I can't really articulate it because the only articulation of it is through that painting. And that's why I love art so much. But also in my, like, in my music, I'm actually in my music as well, I always just, like, sing. I just sing. I don't think about singing, but I sing, and then I'm like, oh, I was singing about this person, or, like, oh, I didn't realize I still felt that way, or I didn't realize I felt like this, or whatever, do you know? And it's really nice. And it, like, if you just, like, do it, it's like you can make anything make sense, if you know what I mean. Like, you just do it, and then you're like, while you're doing it, like, I don't even know if this makes sense, and then after you realize what it's about, and it's, like, really, it's so fun. Oh yeah, also, so the first book that I've read about art was called Big Magic by something Gilbert. But anyway, she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, that girl. I read it in, like, a day. I remember it was, like, the first book I proper read, like, not the first book I proper read, but you know what I mean, like, as an adult. And I loved it so much, and I think that's a really good book, and I recommend it. I haven't read it in a really long time. I read it when I was, like, 17, but she talks about clinging to your ideas. That's, like, a thing that loads of artists have said, like, clinging to your ideas. That basically, which is true, we're all just forms of energy, and art is energy, and everything that you see and touch and feel is energy. And that energy, like, is always moving. So an idea is just energy that flows into your head, and then it goes by, and then you can catch it, or you can just let it go, and then it will go to someone else. And that's why sometimes, Blind Boys talks about this as well, that's why sometimes you'll see someone, even if it's something that's, like, really famous, you'll see a manifestation of an idea, and then you go, I thought of that, but I didn't do anything about it. Do you know what I'm saying? So if you don't take that idea, it will go to someone else. That doesn't necessarily mean that idea is for you, but if you don't take it, and then it's, you know, because of fear, then it will go to someone else. So that's why, and usually why we don't take ideas is because of fear, or that we don't believe in ourselves, which is through fear. But so if we are open-hearted to all the genius that God has for us, then that it will all come to you, and then you just have to notice it. It's all there. You just have to notice it and catch it, and then write it down or whatever. And I always do that with everything. I do it with joy as well, because everything's interconnected. You know, I do it with joy as well. For example, if I have a nice thought that just comes to me, the fucking best, because I do, like, so many affirmations, but obviously after a while then you just naturally start getting positive thoughts, and then you get really excited because it's like, it feels right, you know what I mean? Because sometimes it doesn't feel right when you're doing affirmations, because you're, like, forcing yourself to say these things, you don't fully believe them. But when you fully embody it, then naturally it feels so nice. And whenever I have those kind of feelings where it's, like, something really simple, like, I get a really, really deep joy feeling from something really simple, I always write it down. So I cling on to it, because we tend to cling on to negativity rather than positivity. I've talked about that before, but I try to do that as well. Or even if someone says something, because basically God is talking, and also I'm actually sick of being like, sorry guys, but I'm just going to talk how I want to talk, because it doesn't matter. But God is always talking to you, and angels are always talking to you. And do you ever, like, so basically, for example, when you're watching a video or something, and the person says, like, some sentence, and then you just feel like that really clicked with me, or like I really understood that. I've heard it before, but I really understood that time. That's because God is talking to you. And you're open to receive it. And if you write that down then and notice it and kind of give a wink back to your angels, then they'll keep doing it, and those synchronicities will keep happening. And that just makes you feel really connected to yourself, because you're connected to your higher self in that way. God, angels, higher self, it's all the same thing. You're like connected to your higher self in the best form of yourself, and that therefore you're kind of connected to love, and you're more open hearted, which is where all the love comes from and all the art comes from, I mean. So I always try to do that, and I always write down things, you know, that I love. I have a whole list, like millions of lists on my phones. Things I love: the feeling after finishing a book, chocolate covered strawberries, feeling well rested when I wake up, yoga, Ram Dass when my bed feels so comfortable, waking up tired and realizing you can sleep in more, waking up when the sun rises and watching a movie, when everyone laughs at my joke, when I'm in creative flow, when I pick up a new creative hobby and get obsessed with it, collaging, spontaneous games, when people ask me to play the guitar for them so they can sing, when people compliment my art, when I'm moved by my art, dancing to music that makes me feel sexy, listening to music and pretending they wrote it for me. There's also like the Purple Palace talks so much about this, but it's like I love her so much. I literally love her so much. Anyways, I literally like, it's crazy because I have such a, what's that thing called? You know what I'm trying to say? Something relationship. Like, you know, the social media relationship, but like it's one-sided. Like I just have such that with her. Like I love her so much, but I don't like put her on a pedestal or anything, but I just feel like we have a relationship when we don't. Like I just love her so much because she's just so like me. And you're the light that shines on others. But anyways. Oh yeah, she always talks about like being fun and like, you know, being in touch with your inner child and like doing things that are so exciting. And I always have all these ideas because I watch other artists and I'm like, why don't they ever do this? Or like, why don't they ever do this? And then I complain about how artists don't do things that are innovative anymore, or like creative, or it's all the same and we're all just whatever. And it's like, okay, then be the change. Do you know what I mean? Because everyone's just afraid of being the change. So I'm trying to get over my fear of being different and being the change. But that's like what art is all about. It's like, do you know what I mean? Being new and innovative and creative, and like going to like the darkest, deepest corners of your mind, or the deepest corners and crevices of your heart, and expressing that to the world, so then other people feel safe in doing so. And I wrote this thing as well. Yeah, and channel God through art and find God in your heart. All you are supposed to do is enjoy art. It is supposed to be beautiful chaos, and it isn't supposed to fit into a regime or in time, because it is so profound. And it is about catching energy and articulating magic and energy. You can find it anywhere you go. Let it follow you through your day and manifest through your friends and your environment. Listen to the voice inside of you that's trying to get out. You know what I mean? So it's like you're supposed to be different. You're supposed to be, and that's why I love art so much, because in school I was like felt so weird and really like horrible and ashamed of myself and who I was. And being an individual or being individualistic in any way was like frowned upon, and thinking for yourself was frowned upon. Everyone just wants you to think like everyone else. But in art, you are praised for thinking differently and for being different and for taking risks and for being weird, because it's like, if the more specific you are and the more like honest you are, the more you will touch people, because the more specific and honest that you are and the more true that you are, the more it will be a comfort for other people or be like profound for other people, because it's the first time they've seen someone, you know, articulate what they're feeling in a way that is beautiful. Guys, I feel like I'm in flow right now. It's really good. Anyway, also, okay, so next I have channel your inner child. So I've talked about this before, like with that. Children are the closest to God and the soul and truth, as they are not tainted by the conditioning of systems or other people's opinions that may taint your art and take it further from the truth. play like a child through your art without judgment, and everything you feel, catch it and express it, even if you feel crazy or weird for it, or feel like it's too specific. It's even better if it's too specific, because it means you're articulating something that's rarely articulated, which will bring you so close to others, which I just said. But yeah, that's yeah, so your inner child is like, we're all children, we all have a child inside us, and I feel like that child comes out so much through art. And like, if you look at children, they're so creative and beautiful and happy and carefree, and they don't do things to look a certain way, because they don't know how to pretend yet. So I always try to channel that, and just completely to try and let go, and also to enjoy it, because you're supposed to enjoy making art. I feel like people forget that all the time, and there's so much shame attached to it, but you shouldn't feel ashamed of your art. You shouldn't, like, I'm giving you permission to not be ashamed of yourself and to make whatever you want, because you feel like you need to ask for permission sometimes, or you don't deserve to take up space, because you're not good enough. But you're inherently good enough, and you inherently deserve to take up space, and you inherently deserve to create whatever you want to create, and you deserve praise, and you deserve love, and you deserve to do whatever you want to do. Oh yeah, and also being shamed, feeling shame around your art, it's because you're over identifying yourself with your art, which is what every artist does, obviously, because it's like so easy to do that. But you have to remember that if someone doesn't like your art, doesn't mean they don't like you. Yeah, and it's just like, yeah, I said this about it, but it was like, I feel like whenever I feel that way, I'm just a messenger to God, for God. Do you know what I mean? I'm just a messenger, and if people don't hear me, they don't hear me. For example, and they might eventually hear me. For example, when people, I'm like, do you like this singer? Or whatever, or do you like this person's music? And they're like, no. And I'm just like, how do you not like, oh God, why did you call me? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Are you coming to Dad's?
Yeah. I hope he can collect me when he's bringing Cora to McDonald's.
Wait, where are you, Matt?
I'm in Mum's.
Oh, what time did you leave?
Leave yours?
Yeah.
I left a few hours ago. Jay said it was okay if I left.
Okay, yeah, Missy had food and all in her bowl,
yeah. I gave her more.
Okay, grand.
Okay.
I'm sure she's fine. Okay, see you later.
Okay, love you.
Love you, bye.
Bye. Oh yeah, sorry. If people are like, for example, you're like, oh, do you like this artist or whatever? And then they're just like, no, and you're just like, how do they not like that artist when they're literally so amazing, whatever? And now I'm just like, oh, they must just not be talking to you, or like, do you know what I mean? But like, for example, I didn't like David Bowie back in the day, and I was just like so annoyed. Like, I was just like, I don't care. Like, why does everyone care? Like, I literally don't care. And then, not recently, but like in the past year, I started listening, because I heard his songs before, and I was just like, I don't care. And then like, I heard his music when I was in a certain type of energy, and a different type of energy, and I fucking like cried to it, and I loved it, and like became obsessed with David Bowie. And I had that all the time with artists. Like, I'll listen to artists and be like, I don't know about this, but I know eventually I will enjoy them when I'm in the right energy. Do you know what I mean? Also, if you think about, like, we're all just like frequencies, and what frequency we give out is the frequency we attract, and the frequency like we match with is what we receive back, if you know what I mean. And that makes it kind of easier to kind of depersonalize the situation, and it kind of, because that's just the fundamental truth, if you know what I mean. So that kind of makes me feel better as well, because they're just not talking to me right now. And that's how I try to see my art. It's like, oh, like, if someone doesn't like it, it's just because they don't understand it right now, or they're not in the right energy to receive it. That's the same with yourself, and they're kind of interconnected with yourself. It's like, if someone doesn't like you, it's just like, oh, they're just not ready to receive all my beauty and all my grace. I'm gonna do a video about all my music and art and what they mean and stuff, because I think that's really fun, and maybe about my poetry. I really want to make a poetry book. So if anyone has any advice on how to publish a poetry book, or if anyone is in publishing maybe, or anyone can help me in any way, just let me know. Also, not everything that you create has to be a product, and not everything you create has to go somewhere. Everything that you write, everything that you paint is all matters, and it all works towards, you know, putting the pieces together to who you are, if you know what I mean. And it's all an expression, and it doesn't have to go anywhere. For example, I always write like things for like screenplay, like because that's the way I want to write it. Like some things, the only way I get so passionate and excited about art because I just get so excited because there's so many different mediums that you can use, and you can don't limit yourself to one thing. That's kind of why I don't go to college, because I don't want to limit myself to one thing. Not that college isn't good or anything, but also I don't go to college for many reasons. But basically, so I always, sometimes I write about like in such a way that it's like a movie, because it's the way that I see it, and it's just an expression. And sometimes the way I see people, I like to write them in like kind of a screenplay way, even though it's not even necessarily a poem, it's not even necessarily good, but I just want to get it out, and it's like an idea, and I know when I have the skills I'll be able to put it together better. Do you know what I mean? Because skills you can learn, and the idea and the soul and the truth is the most important part, so you can express that in any way, and then you can learn the skills and the technique eventually if you want to do something with that. But every idea you have, good or bad, whatever you think that you can properly pursue, always cling on to it, because you can always eventually pursue it if you learn the skills. I want to do everything. I want to be a ballerina, guys. I'm doing ballet lessons on the 27th or 28th of January, and I'm so excited because I have always wanted to be a ballerina. Like, I just feel like all my dreams are coming true, and I'm just so grateful. And like with my music and stuff, I've got like loads of people that I'm working with and stuff, and I'm going to start recording my music, which I'm so excited about. And I just feel like all my dreams are coming true, and it's just, I'm so excited because of all the different avenues that I can go down, and all the different ways I can express myself and shine my light in the world. And yeah, I'm really excited. And also, I forgot to say, whenever I edit videos, like, I just have more ideas on what to say, but what makes your art beautiful is you, the you that seeps through it, and the intention that seeps through it, which is you and your soul, not how good you are technically at it. That can make it a lot prettier and more, like, you know, palatable, but what is the actual beauty about it is yourself. So as true to yourself and as honest as you can be determines how beautiful and true that your art is, and powerful that your art is as well. But anyways, and that's what I mean by like shining my light in the world, is like, that's all that you need to do, is shine your light and embrace who you are and your true self. But yeah, I want to be like a ballerina, a director, a screenplay writer. I want to make my own sitcom. I want to do dancing shows. I want to do musical theater. I want to do music. I want to be an artist, a visual artist. I want to be, you know, create animation. Like, I literally want to do everything. I literally want to do everything. And like, isn't that just the most exciting thing in the world? And just let yourself be excited. And I feel like my ambition comes from my inner child. I feel like ambition is the key, and the key to your success is ambition. And I feel like we don't let ourselves be ambitious because we're afraid, and we push away our inner child because we think it's stupid or silly or unrealistic. But if we don't want to do something, then we're never going to do it. So you have to let yourself do it and open yourself up to that, and then the opportunities will come through. And yeah, so I like have so much ambition and joy because I have so many dreams, and not dreams where they're unattainable, but dreams that I work towards, and dreams that I love doing, and I love the process of it, and dreams that I have even though they might not necessarily, and they probably won't come true, because I'm not going to be a ballerina and a director and an artist, like, obviously not, but I enjoy the process of it anyways. And wherever I'll go, and I know wherever I go I will belong. So yeah, so just let yourself shine and let yourself dream. But anyways, that's all I have. So if you have any questions or anything, and yeah, I love you so much. Thanks, guys. So yeah, I'm gonna have to smoke now.